And welcome back. The Plymouth Pawtuxet Museums are celebrating the 400th anniversary of the very first Thanksgiving this year.
So New at 6, Kate Walsh went back to where it all began, Plymouth, Massachusetts, to separate fact from fiction, show us how our feast today compares.
Take a step onto the grounds of Plymouth Pawtuxet Museums and you're instantly transported back to the year 1621.
How harvest just come in.
Through this living museum, you can experience the hardships pilgrims faced that first year in Plymouth and why half the settlers didn't survive. But did you know this?
Prior to the arrival of the Pilgrims in 1620, there had been a major epidemic that swept through this area.
An epidemic. 400 years later, in a pandemic, perhaps our gratitude for what we do have isn't so far off from what was felt at that first Thanksgiving among the Pilgrims and Native people.
Every culture, every religion around the world has ways of expressing gratitude.
Now, you've likely heard of Massasoit or Great Chief, but did you know he was the leader of the Pawtuxet people based out of what is now Warren and Bristol, Rhode Island? The illness the natives had just experienced weakened their numbers. They ventured miles to Plymouth, where the Wampanoags and other tribes lived, to meet the Pilgrims.
And we say, oh, he's just being friendly and helpful. We take away all of his agency. He was a shrewd leader. He's doing what he thinks is best for his people. He sees advantage in allying with the Pilgrims.
Our tour guide Malka Benjamin pointed to this pictograph showing the ratio of Native people to Pilgrims at that feast.
Massasoit Usamiquan and his 90 Pawtuxet men are just some of the Native people who are present.
Wampanoag historian and artisan Melissa Costa said guests' biggest misconception is that Thanksgiving was a planned feast among the peoples.
And it was more of a stumble upon.
The Native people who lived on this land were here thousands of years prior to the English arriving and having that first Thanksgiving in 1621. This is an actual home site, Malka said, of Wampanoag families, and children on this day learned about the traditional 17th century boat building, cooking,
It's roasted duck today,
and crafting. Malka then took us down the path to Pilgrim Village.
Right now, we're in the fall of 1621. I don't know if you felt that little vibration as we entered.
Yes, I did, yes. Pilgrims' first-hand accounts give us a detailed look at everything from how they hunted to farming and even each resident's personality.
Francis was being industrious, right?
But they did not describe in detail the food at the first Thanksgiving.
So I think it's safe to say that there were certainly ducks, geese, turkeys, all these different kinds of birds on the table.
We also know the natives presented the Pilgrims with deer. Venison was a meal for royalty back in England. But as far as the rest of the spread, well, we just have to guess based on what was harvested at the time. Corn, squash, cranberries, quahogs, and mussels might also have been on that table. Some food for thought for you to share with your family and friends as you celebrate traditions of your own this Thanksgiving. In Plymouth, I'm Kate Walsh, 12 News.